Retailers accused of racism as they flee black neighborhoods in Milwaukee. Got the same thing going on in New York City. Democrat mayor candidate Zoran Mondani, he says he's going to create publicly run grocery stores because there's so much of this going on. What's happening in Milwaukee? Besides a whole bunch of stores being closed down? Let's get into it. Here we go. Milwaukee is the latest in a long list of U.S. cities facing a rapid retail exodus in minority neighborhoods. And once again, the blame is being placed on the companies in question rather than the behavior of the residents as they protest the rising tide of food deserts. We hear this story time and time and time again. You need to keep the store open for us. We only walk. We can't get there else what? We can't get there. We don't drive. And you're left with, okay, yeah, but these stores are closing because of safety issues and because of shoplifting issues. We don't see these stores being closed in neighborhoods with greater affluence. That's not happening. Well, I shouldn't say it's not happening. It's very, very rarely happening. So let's watch a quick video here. Pick and Save store locations closing 5 in Metro Milwaukee. Here we go.
A major announcement from Pick and Save. It is sending shockwaves to shoppers all throughout Southeast Wisconsin. The grocery store chain says it will be closing a handful of stores in our area.
A handful.
This is
Jeez.
All 5 of them on yours right there.
And our Ashley Sears is here with why some say this will be a detriment to the community.
Yeah, Kim, Kroger, which owns Pick and Save, announced it will close 60 stores across the U.S. 5 of those grocery stores are in our area. Shoppers say it will create a food desert in some places.
This the good one.
At the Pick and Save in 35th and North, shoppers stock up on groceries for the week.
They have really good food, really good produce, really good deals.
Gwendolyn Mann says it seems like she's here every other day, but soon that will change.
There are no any other options.
Pick and Save says 5 stores in the greater Milwaukee area will close in the next 18 months. In a statement, a store spokesperson said this closure is part of a larger company-wide decision to run more efficiently and ensure long-term health of our business.
Corporate speak.
It will be a hardship to the community.
Some worry it will create a food desert, especially near North 35th. Other grocery stores are further away, customers say with more expensive and fewer healthier options.
This is a commodity that's needed.
About 5 miles away in Glendale, people at the Silver Spring store were upset to hear the news. Their location will also be shutting down.
Where is we going to go? We're going to have to go towards that way or all the way up that way or further that way.
A chain with a slogan that says it's fresh for everyone, with an announcement that seems stale for some.
They should leave it here.
That map was just boom, 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 wasn't it? I mean, most of the time you've got 1 or 2 in these neighborhoods that are just, all right, yeah, okay. You can come up with a few reasons as to why this might be happening. But the reason I'm recording this podcast today is because Tyler Durden just calls right out that, hey, you're blaming it on racism. You've actually got a situation where these stores, because of loss prevention and also the safety factor, and I think the safety factor is really, really misunderstood. You've got a whole bunch of criminal activity going on, and these stores don't want to operate, with their customers, with their managers, with their, store employees. They don't want to operate these stores in situations where people could get killed, where you've got ongoing shoplifting, you've got safety issues, because that's what's always being told. Well, we've got, some shoplifting going on. These stores aren't being closed in other neighborhoods where you don't have this kind of criminal activity going on. That is kind of the underlying pinnings that nobody wants to talk about, because what it means is that more and more stores are going to be closed down in areas, and people who already have a hard time getting food are going to have an even harder time as time goes on. And nobody will want to open up a grocery store in an area where they're just being picked clean. That's not how this works. But nobody wants to admit that either, because then they look like they're racist. Well, we're closing it down because you guys are robbing us blind. Nobody comes right out and says that, do they? The beginning of July, city officials mounted a public outcry after Cincinnati-based Kroger Company announced the decision to close at least 5 Pick and Save supermarket locations, including one of Milwaukee's Metcalf Park neighborhoods. City was also notified by Walgreens. Now, you're seeing grocery stores and drugstores. You're going to have a desert of both of those. And groceries and prescriptions, I mean, people need these, right? They need them. But the real disconnect happens when you've got criminal activity going on within your community and nobody's doing anything to stop that. Corporate on these big stores is basically going to go, no thanks, we're done, we're out. And that is literally what you're seeing. And then the leaders within the community are, what do we do? What happened? Racism. And they immediately blame the big corporate on racism. They just don't like serving our community. No, it's not that. It's the factors that are going into ultimately the decisions being made is that your stores are being picked clean and they're not stores that they want to keep open. And if they are having a tough time, they're going to pull the plug on the ones that have the most shoplifting and most safety issues. Activists argued that the closures center around Black and brown neighborhoods and that these areas deserve access to nearby grocery outlets. Well, deserve access based on what? Based on what? That food is a necessity? Okay. But having a store in your community is a privilege because corporate decides yes, no. And if you are in a neighborhood where, stuff is not going well, it's kind of a reflection of, all right, the big picture here isn't great, and leadership isn't doing what it needs to do to keep these stores in our community, which is drop the hammer on criminal activity going on, don't look the other way, and start, public safety. Public safety is a big component of this. And if you don't have public safety in your community, expect more store closures. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. And yet people want to blame it on all kinds of stuff. Kroger's decision was discussed at a July 2nd meeting at the Common Council's Community and Economic Development Committee. Many people walk or take the bus to buy food, said Alderwoman Sharon P. Moore. If the store is gone, they may have nowhere close to shop. And I hear that repeatedly. Okay. So leadership, what are you going to do to make your community more safe? What are you going to do to make it so that people are discouraged from shoplifting in your community? What are you progressively going to do? What are you going to do? I don't hear any answers. All I hear is make them stay open, right? And that ain't going to work because corporate's already said, nope, boop, we're done. This impacts our city, Moore said. They're closing quite a bit of grocery stores that are in neighborhoods that absolutely have no access to groceries. Hey, that sucks because this is happening in areas where people already have a hard time just getting normal life stuff. And now you're going to shrink that supply even more. It's just going to get worse, right? It's just going to get worse. So angry residents presented a number of far left arguments and solutions. Okay. Including finding ways to force companies to keep stores open and boycotting the stores which are closing anyway. Hey, let's boycott the store. You know what? No amount of boycotting, no amount of protesting, none of that works. It just doesn't. Look at the No Kings protest. They're, protesting imaginary kings, protesting imaginary secret police, protesting imaginary Nazis. No Nazis. Well, there's no Nazis around, so you're safe. Still no kings, still no secret police. All good. But also, no grocery stores. Not good. They also suggested recruiting help from the Party of Socialism and Liberation as a means to put pressure on exiting businesses. Their motto, for the planet to live, capitalism must end. So if you understand the basic components of capitalism, there's this tiny little component in there called profit. And if the benefit doesn't outweigh the cost of operating that store in that environment, they're going to make the hard decision to close her up because they don't want to get sued and they don't want to lose money. And they can put their emphasis on stores in other locations that don't have these factors. It's as simple as that. And yet people are like, why is our store closing? I don't get it. It's great. We can't walk anywhere else. That sucks. I want everybody to be able to have groceries. I want everybody to have access to what they need. Life is hard enough. You can't, and you got to drive too far away or walk or take the bus or, any one of those things. The bus with groceries, nightmare, right? But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people in communities that retail is consistently leaving. They're not going into, and it's because leadership in these areas has allowed shoplifting to just become such a regular thing, has allowed criminal activity to just become a regular thing, and it overruns the community. I'm not blaming the people in the store shopping, but they're the ones that have voted the politicians in place that have allowed this to happen. So you got to place the blame somewhere, right? All right, let's watch this video.
Neighbors are protesting the loss of a Milwaukee pick and save.
The business, it's closing several locations. 𝗪𝗡𝗧𝗏 joining us live with a closer look at the community backlash now. It's been pretty strong, especially today.
We have been at this pick and save on North 35th Street, where we can already see that people have been showing up and seeing these wooden boards.
Look at that kid. Hey, what are you doing?
In the past, the company's
wow.
For the health of the business.
Oh.
Food security and accessibility are among the concerns for this group of people.
Okay, instead of out protesting the corporation's closing, you need to be protesting that your leaders aren't doing what they need to do to keep big corporate in place. Period. This protesting stuff, I mean, again, it goes nowhere. It does absolutely nothing. I've never heard of a store going, oh yeah, well, they're protesting, therefore let's keep it open. That's not how this game is played. It's not how this works. So you can pretend all day long, just like the No Kings protests. Yeah, there's no kings. No shit. Yeah, the president was elected. Huh. Weird, right? Yeah.
As wooden boards cover up windows and doors at the Pick and Save location on 35th in Milwaukee.
Big store.
This is just heartbreaking that this is happening to our community again, over and over again. Like, this is not fair.
Ask yourself why it's happening over and over and over again. Read a dozen of these stories. Watch my videos on the stores that are closing in the neighborhoods. Where is it happening? It's not that difficult to discern what you got going on. Profit and safety exposure.
It broke my heart. Like, what is we gonna do? Like, this is the only big grocery store in the community.
In June, the company announced it would close 5 Pick and Save grocery stores in the Milwaukee area, including Glendale, South Milwaukee, and Oak Creek.
A person shouldn't have to leave their house, go all the way over yonder, right, to go make some groceries when it could be.
And a corporation shouldn't have to worry that its manager is going to get capped during their daily operations. Shouldn't have to worry that 200-300 people are going to shoplift from its store on a daily basis. So, there's a yin and a yang. There's a, you know what I mean? So I hear you when you're saying, hey, we shouldn't have to come from all over. But you got to understand the conditions that these corporations are closing down under. They're not just, we'll just close that one randomly and that one. No, it's because of something, and it's because of nobody wanting to address what that something is that these are happening. And what happens is they continue to happen because nobody's focusing on the right thing, which is, hey, what if we made conditions more safe within our community? Oh, maybe the stores would come back. Maybe if we arrested and prosecuted and incarcerated those who are committing the crimes, what if we did that enough to deter them from doing this over and over and over and over again? What would happen then? What would happen then? Would stores be more encouraged to stay in a community or expand into a community? If you had So if you had safety issues just really ratchet down, what do you think would happen? Do you think stores would be more encouraged to go in and operate? Do you think they'd be more willing to take a shot at that little thing called profit? You can determine that one.
The one right here in the community.
𝗧𝗜𝗡𝗦𝗦 says her family is feeling the toll. She feels the closure will force them to shop at more expensive corner stores and price them out altogether.
There is a real concern of what it means to have food security available to neighbors, throughout the whole city. I do believe and stand with the people behind me that food is a right and we should have access to healthy food.
State Senator Dora Drake was present during the rally. She says she is working with local leaders to find a solution.
We can work together.
As doors officially close, families are now left wondering where to go next.
Affordable food for our community, food for our families, food, period. How are we going to survive?
Though Milwaukee saw a promising dip in overall crime rates, and a lot of big metro areas have, because we have come off of exceedingly high record levels of criminal activity, and they're just now dropping down, right? It was like during the pandemic, everybody was given all right, guys, if you're going to commit crimes, now's the time. Let's get out there. Let's get out there and do your thing. It was like that memo was sent out, and across the board, everybody just, we're going to just go crazy, and they did. So in the first quarter of 2025, the city deals with a continuing high trend of high retail theft. Stores don't want to operate in that environment, and they say, thanks, but no thanks. Leftists blame low wages and Trump policies, which they claim are causing inflation. The majority of current inflation was generated under the Biden administration, not Trump. Yeah, remember that we had that super hot economy, and then we dumped a couple of $1 trillion of Inflation Reduction Act into the economy, and what happened? I mean, weird. Inflation raged. That's weird. So now, blaming Trump, look at the European deal that just got made. I mean, tariffs failing? Some arguments to be made the other way, but certainly not inflation. The neighborhoods losing the most retail access are neighborhoods with higher crime. In other words, if the residents stop stealing, those stores might stay open. Again, let me read that. In other words, if the residents stop stealing, those stores might stay open. But then you are opening up a massive Pandora's box of how do we get the residents to stop stealing? Well, you got to make it clear to folks that, all right, here's the deal. We are really low on grocery stores. Yeah, we know it used to be okay to shoplift, but it's not. Here's what's going to happen if you do, and we're going to enforce it. And you got to get your community involved in that. Nobody wants to do that because everybody's fragmented 10 ways from Sunday because you got shenanigans going all over. You got inflation. People are wigged out. How am I going to pay my bills? And now we got to face this damn grocery store closing. Now we don't have any food. Now I got to go 10 miles up the road to just get some effing food. So instead of protesting, protest it at your political figures. Tell your political figures, hey, what are you going to do to stop the shoplifting? Because that is the cause and effect of what you've got going on. As usual, however, the narrative turns to victimization and marginalization. You can claim you're a victim so many times, and then at the end of the day, when it's the exact same result, closed. You got to kind of look inward and go, what's really going on here? And marginalization. If these corporations were making big money in your community and they were safe, they'd be going all day long because that's what corporate does. It makes money. And when it doesn't, boom, shut it down. And that's why 5 Milwaukee, closed. Situation is symbolic of the enduring conundrum for blue city progressives and their socialist ilk. They want to be able to steal from the wealthy in the name of reparations, but they can't force the wealthy to stick around. You can't make a company. You need to stay in business here. You have got to stay in business here. I hear politicians doing that all the time. You know where it gets them? Out with the store that closed down because they don't listen. That's not how this game is played. And people who believe they're politicians, we're going to get this store to reverse course and stay. How has that worked out for you traditionally? How has that worked out? Probably not great, I'm guessing. Companies can only be bled dry if they sit passively and expose a vein. All right, but the thing is, they've got this little thing, got profit, and then we've got stockholders. And they have to be accountable, corporate does, to stockholders. And stockholders, when they see a store bleeding out, you know what they do? We don't like what's going on here. We're going to sell our stock and go buy it in somebody else. So again, it's not that hard to figure out. But when you're out, protesting God knows what, you get what you get, right? If you're not going after the right angle, this is what you get. Stores closing left and right. When they simply walk away, there's nothing that leftists can do. Walking away is kryptonite for socialists because you're literally left with, there's no grocery stores in my neighborhood. Let's blame corporate because we can't blame ourselves. We can't take responsibility. We can't take any responsibility for this. We got to blame somebody else because if we take responsibility, that means we got to do something. We're aware of the issue. Now it's go time. We got to do something. What are we going to do? Yeah, that's what I keep hearing is this is why protests like those in Milwaukee and other blue cities over food deserts achieve nothing. In all the podcasts I've done of all the grocery stores and CVS's and all that, not one of those stores has come back. Not one of those stores has been reopened. No one is entitled to retail access. 100% true. You get it if you get it. If you don't, there's probably a reason. And it's that reason that all of these communities they don't want to hear it because then they're up against that wall of, we got to do something. And nobody really wants to do anything. They just want to bitch and complain. So there you go. Now you can bitch and complain. You can protest, but your store's still going to be gone. No community deserves to have a grocery store nearby. Businesses must be able to maintain enough profit to make a store location viable. Weird. Being wildly sarcastic. The shenanigans that you find in these communities, such as literally protesting that corporate keep it open. I mean, you've been led to believe that protesting actually gets you somewhere. It doesn't. It doesn't. Actual action that solves the problem does. And you don't get that by having a sign go, It's not going to do anything. It's going to have zero impact. There are hundreds of grocery outlets in the Milwaukee region. The complaint is not that stores are gone. The complaint is that the people in affected neighborhoods don't want to drive a few miles to the next closest location. That is the number one complaint, right? It's not, hey, we need to close down all this criminal activity going on. Completely overlooked. It's like, I got to drive up there north. I got to drive west. I got to go somewhere else. That's annoying. Well, how about having the store closed? That's more annoying, right? Fundamental adjustment in behavior in minority communities could very well revitalize their business environment. All they have to do is stop committing crimes and the stores will come flooding back in. Easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. And you have to have the political will to make that happen. And in so many of these big, blue, progressive cities, you do not have that will to make your community safe again. You just don't. You're going every other direction. I mean, literally, take Sanctuary City. Take Sanctuary City. At its very core is the fact that you are hindering law enforcement from doing their job. When you live in a big blue sanctuary city, county, state, and you wonder why grocery stores are closing, take a look around. Take a look around. It's because you voted politicians in that have allowed that policy to take place. You voted politicians in that go down this ridiculous road of let's prevent ICE from doing their job. Let's prevent ICE from taking the criminal illegals and deporting them because we want criminal illegals in our community. Is that what we want? I mean, asking for a friend, right? No, it's a rhetorical question. Nobody wants that. And yet, And yet, in these communities, you have voted in leadership that says, yep, we're not really going to work on the grocery stores, but hey, we're going to make sure that the criminal illegals stay within your community. Make that make sense. You want a grocery store or you want a bunch of criminal illegals in your community? Which one? Which one would you rather have? Doesn't take me very long to think about that, right? Look at all the energy Karen Bass has put into, and Gavin Newsom, into fighting Trump, into fighting ICE. What if they actually, I don't know, worked on rebuilding the Palisades, making communities safer? What if they did that? Would things get better? Yeah, but we're not about doing that. Now we're about virtue signaling. We're out doing this. We're out protesting the fact that Kroger's closing down stores. Well, how's that working out? That great. It's not that hard to figure out what's going on. The hard part is then somebody making a difference and really going against the grain and saying, hey, we need to clean things up. This is a result of our own action or inaction. This is a result of us voting in knuckleheads who do shenanigans and then leave us high and dry with no grocery stores. Not that hard to figure out. Just keeps going. Just keeps on it going. So we'll have more and more podcasts on this because the trend isn't to clean up neighborhoods. The trend is to blame others and then virtue signal when that doesn't happen. It's racist. It's racist. Stores closing down is racism. And yet there's really no basis for that. What there is basis for corporate safety and shoplifting, loss prevention, all those good things. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.